I'm on mute. I've done it again. Welcome, 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 Leo Mindel. It's funny. One of your hosts, and I'm going to bring on our other host, Mo. And he's on mute as well.
Jesus Christ. Merry Christmas, everybody. How you doing? Have some jingly bells. That's what it's all about on Christmas Eve.
Welcome, Mo. Welcome, welcome. I did it again, haven't I? I've gone and clicked on the mute without even thinking, because I always mute before the video goes live to make sure that I don't talk and you don't swear, or it could be you don't talk and I don't swear. And I forgot to unmute us. That really works out well. It's so professional. Such a professional thing that everybody's looking forward to. So welcome, everybody. Christmas Eve. Please put in the comments where you're watching, when I'm going to say when you were planning to go to Borovets. Maybe we'll cover that in a minute. And your thoughts and suggestions and questions. Questions are always welcome. Rude ones can wait until our guest comes on board. That's what he's here for. So, Mo, how you been?
I've been really good, man. Business has been, it's like when you're self-employed, as well. You got that last week before Christmas when you're trying to balance doing everything with your family and doing everything at work still, and you're trying to drive your business and do that. Or I think most people that are, in normal employment are winding down a little bit at work, and they're having a few parties and and chocolates and stuff, and they can concentrate a little bit on what they've got to do. Things get more intense for me just before Christmas, particularly with the line of business we're in with the t-shirts and stuff. It's been a lot of work. So yeah, it's been a bit mad, but we're all ready. All the presents are wrapped, and 2 little kids as well, so they're all rather excited, but not as excited as they usually are.
It is a bit of a strange one, isn't it? Because for certain ages, the lure of presents, but it's like finding a time to wrap the presents because the kids have been at home all the time. Oh, obviously that's a job for Santa. Yes,
definitely. But I also think that where it's been a kind of a weird year, I think we've spoiled our kids so much this year because they've been stuck at home and we haven't been able to go on holiday. So like my kids have benefited from like a new laptop and stuff like that, hey, I have this, we're not going on holiday, the application thing for them. So I kind of takes the magic of Christmas away a little bit. And of course we normally do a lot of stuff on Christmas Eve and bits and pieces, which we're not doing.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the big thing. So before we go any further, we've got a guest, a fan favourite that many have requested, that I think actually probably there's quite a few requests that he replaces one or both of us. So I'd like to introduce and bring him on. Hopefully his mic is unmuted because he's actually professional at doing this. Steve. Welcome, Steve.
Stephen boy.
I feel the pressure. Am I unmuted? I don't even know how to unmute it.
Yeah, you are. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. I feel like that was a very big introduction and very nice of my mum and my fiance to email you in advance to request my presents.
Oh, there's a bit of a change. Maybe
anyone else did.
Straight away. We've gone off-piste straight away, Steve. A new definition for Victoria.
Oh, did I let Vic? Hold that thought. Victoria, can you borrow you a minute?
So if anybody knows, basically the 3 of us are supposedly we stare at the camera a lot. We're the people that you see. And all of us have normally somebody else who is holding the other end of the camera. For Steve, the person holding the other camera and never likes to be on screen is Victoria.
Oh, no.
There you go.
Victoria!
Congratulations.
Is he outdone himself?
Have you already? Sorry, Victoria. Have you already picked out the spot for his shallow grave?
Is that what the hole in the garden is for?
How many pairs of skis did that cost you, mate?
I could bribe her with a lot.
Yeah, I got one like that in one of those arcade machines as well in the box. Remember them old ones used to put the
Don't give the game away.
I know this is not, Victoria. I know we dragged you on, and apparently you're baking a cake. We were told.
Yeah.
But as a one of those who have been in the front line as a school teacher, how's it been for you this last year?
Yeah, it's been strange. School has carried on as normal, certainly in the last lockdown, so it didn't really feel like lockdown to us. You know, the kids are very resilient and just come in and get on with it. You know, they sanitize every 5 minutes. But yeah, it's been okay.
That's more than they do at home.
Yeah.
And so when are the two of you looking to get out to Borovets? What was the plans? Or
how long have you got, Leo? How long have you got?
I know.
Well, plan A was Boxing Day.
Yeah.
Plan A obviously went to pot. As a couple, obviously we're restricted to school holidays, but I had a January trip booked, which obviously now has gone to pot.
Yeah.
So I now have a February trip and then another February trip with Victoria. So 2 February trips, which for me will roll into one, half of them with friends and the other half with Victoria. So it kind of roll into one trip.
It is tough, isn't it, for all of us? You know, because I know that you two particularly have booked quite a few. You know, you normally go away for short breaks, but obviously anything is not going to work like a short break out there for under the current or whatever the rules will be come February or March next year. We don't know.
No, I mean, initially we cancelled Boxing Day. I can't remember why. I think Ryanair cancelled Boxing Day for us some time back. But then all of a sudden, my daughter, who was due to come on the 28th of December, because she's 21, so she doesn't live with me now. But someone in her family that she lives with, her house where she lives, had COVID. So all of a sudden she had to then, what's the word? Isolate. So we then thought at that point, she can't come on the 28th. We actually could go to on Boxing Day afterwards. We found different flights. And then
it's gone.
But then didn't rebook it because we're about to rebook it.
I think we.
So it's just a pain. And as it happens, the snow's not really that great anyway, is it?
Yeah. So let's move on to that.
We're cutting out, are we?
You're cutting out a bit, but let's just move on to that. You mentioned about the snow. It's an interesting one for those that are watching. Some of us are sitting there spend half our life looking at it. So I'll bring up, as I always do, the cameras and everything that's out there so you can see. And what we've got at the moment using the website that I always use is that there is snow on there. And they did have all the cannons on. As anybody who will ask you why aren't the cannons on, the cannons only work, I think it's -4, something like that. And it's also to do with other areas, but there is snow on there, and there was quite a lot, but it's not the best amount. So I think the last I heard was an opening around about the 28th. Was that figure that you've heard? Yeah. So you know, we'll see where we go on there. So it's about the 28th that I'm hearing. Looking at the charts and what's due up. And I'll quickly switch to that one. There does look like there is some snow due. So if anybody uses this website, the Wix charts, the little red dot is actually Borovets. And if we go to here, you can see that the snow's coming in 26th. So Boxing Day starts to appear around about the 28th. And when you get towards the end of the 2-week cycle that shows up here, you're then seeing 17 centimeters of snow. So they're looking at some snow. Should be able to make it out of those purple spikes on the right hand side. So I think we're going to be, you know, it's going to be a later season than we normally would have, but it will come in. It will,
which is quite bizarre because we were talking about last week, and there was a massive dump of snow happening last week, but then they had 20 degrees one day. Shortly after that, didn't they?
I saw that.
Yeah,
I saw that.
I think I've come to the conclusion, guys, that I'm sure there'll be people who will correct me and have a different opinion altogether. But we went last year for Christmas. So we were there this time last year, and it wasn't till Christmas Eve that we got any significant snow that could be in any way skied on. And even then it wasn't groomed. So watching the cameras again this year, we've come to the conclusion that if you want a guaranteed ski trip, Christmas is controversially possibly not the time if you want to guarantee snow.
I think, am I right, Steve? If I remember rightly, you went to Bansko actually around this time as well.
We went. What we did last year, we went out on the 18th of December, so we were there quite early, and then we went to Bansko whilst we were there for a couple of days, just because they were open because it's slightly higher, and then came back to Borovets. I think the day before Christmas Eve, or possibly on Christmas Eve, and then skied sort of rather roughly on Christmas Eve, and then a lot of snow on Christmas Day.
If anybody's wondering why does why does Bansko open and why doesn't Borovets open, etc. I mean, it's very easy to see it in a funny way on the maps. Hopefully, I can bring this up from here, and that's that really Borovets is made up of two resorts, and it's the bottom resort. Oh, wrong display. The bottom resort really is all has the cannons, which is great. It has the cannons, which is great, but it doesn't always get cold enough to use them. And the top resort is cold enough, but doesn't have cannons. So it's a bit of a catch-22 at the moment. There's no cannons at the top. When if there were cannons at the top now, the cannons would have filled the whole of the top resort, the whole of the top area. But there isn't cannons up there as yet. And we have discussed this in the past as to why that there isn't cannons up there, but it's to do with
electrical feed,
concrete, water, and electricity upper side of the mountain. So, but maybe they'll change. But I think, am I right that Bansko has got cannons all over, Steve?
From my recollection, yes, and I believe it's slightly higher as well as.
Yeah, I was going to say there's a height difference for Bansko than there is for Borovets.
Even when we were there at Bansko, it was very much a tale of two halves in Bansko, because at the bottom, the ground level, at the bottom of the gondola, no snow at all. But at the top, where we skied on the plateau and the top of the Tadorka, where it's very high, lots of snow. So Bansko isn't completely snowy. It's only the higher end of Bansko that is.
Yeah, it is tough, isn't it? It is tough. So where things are and where things aren't, and this is what happens. I've been in Borovets for most Christmases or Christmas New Year stroke for the last 6 or 7 years, and have always been able to snowboard. But as you say, it may not be the best, but it does actually work.
I've always been out in the second week of January, and I've never missed. It's always been really good. It's been touch and go right up till we got there, but it's always been very good. And then actually have seen for the last sort of 5 or 6 years, March is always fine. It's never really a problem in March.
I've had the opposite of that. I've had a March where I've had issues in the past, because I've read several things on the Impartial Borovets page where people have commented saying, what's it like towards the end of March? And people have said, yeah, you can get the best snow. And I'm like, well, from my experience, and it's only my experience of 2 Marches on the bounce, because my birthday is March 24th. So we try and go for my birthday. And on both years, we were, well, certainly last year, we were, I think, skiing in 14 degrees. So by lunchtime, I mean, it was mush. It was beautiful, but skiing was dreadful.
Oddly enough, my birthday's on the 7th of March, and I always go out on the 5th.
So the 5th of March, I'd imagine, is probably good skiing.
Yeah, that's always been good on the 5th. I mean, the last time I went out in March with Jason, we got there and it was just mad. It just tipped down for about. In fact, it was so bad you couldn't see on the top of the mountain, for a couple of days.
The best I've had in Borovets, and I'm almost loath to say it because I don't want everyone to jump on the bandwagon, but February half term, where you would expect it to be rammed, it actually wasn't. It's almost like a secret gem where it's not busy. Now I've just tempted mass stampede for half term, but it was perfect skiing and perfect in terms of numbers of people. It was brilliant.
I've been February half term with the family, and I've got a group of friends that go every year. Some of them are probably watching. They go every year, February half term. That's how I first started coming out with them. And there's about 20 of them that go out. So it's like, 5 or 6 families. And yeah, they always have it good. Sometimes, I don't really know what crowd it is, but I never found it that crowded in February half term. I've always loved January, and March is always good as well. But we know there's different sectors, don't we, Leo? We've talked about this before, about the people that go in January, the people that go in the half term, and the people that go after half term. So you've got your stag and hen runs, which are early in the years. Then you've got your families, which are around about the half-term time, and just shortly after that, we call it lovers season, don't we? It's honeymoon season, you know, and you get a lot of couples and people out in that part. So yeah, they all have their own merits.
They do. It's when you go and, as you say, there is different times to use the resort, and also I would say there's different times in the day depending upon when you're there. So I find personally that when I started going and you're on the tour and you're on the lessons, you typically are having breakfast first, then you're going out. You're not actually hitting the slopes until about 9:15, 9:30, and it can be quite busy. If you're going out on your own, or you're going independently, then I find going out, you can get out, do a couple of runs, and then have breakfast at 9:30. And it's a completely different environment. Hit the first slope, hit the first lift at 8:30. Lifts open at 8:30, and you can be up there and you can be back down, and you wouldn't even know about it by the time you then get back and you see there's a massive queue for the gondola.
Do you know what I would say to anyone who's thinking of going out, maybe the last week of December or towards the end of March, in that sort of iffy time? I would say you can drive yourself mad watching the cameras 24 hours a day, hoping and praying. And you can ask the question on Impartial Borovets a million times: what's the snow like in March or end of December? And it's entirely down to the lap of the gods. It's literally a toss of a coin. You could have a great time, you could have no snow. It's a lottery, and it's just you need to go knowing it's a lottery.
Oddly enough, that's how my vlogs actually started in Borovets, because I went out it was one of my second or third year, I think. I went out with a friend of mine, and there wasn't much snow, and everyone was saying, "Oh, is it snowing?" And then it started snowing. So I was outside Bobby's Bar. Actually, I was outside the what's the little supermarket outside Bobby's Bar? Is it Aldo?
Aldo.
Yeah, we were outside Aldo, me and my friend Guy. And the snow started coming, and it really came down. You know, when you get the big flakes, the ones that are size of side plates, they were coming down. So I got the camera out, and I went live on Facebook, say it's snowing in Borovets, and through the group. And that was my it's still on the group somewhere. That was my very first video, and that's the one that kicked the whole thing off. And I think it was shortly after that, Leo, that I met you in Bobby's.
So you and I met in Bobby's 2 seasons ago, I think it was. Yeah. I think it was. It was my second trip that year. It was a later, maybe 3 years ago actually. It was a later.
Yeah, well, I think it was a little bit longer. Yeah.
Because I normally go over Christmas, but I went for a late February one. We met in Bobby's, had a great meal, as you always do there. Apart from the fact that the food is too much and the plates are too small, because there's so much food on it, you just can't eat it all. And that's where we started doing this, and we came up with this idea. So it was, as you say, a number of years ago. I think one of the things that a lot of people are asking, and I've seen this on the groups and I've seen it in other places, that people are saying, well, how are we going to book? What can we do? I had a trip booked with Crystal. I know that Balkan, Crystal, and others have all cancelled. It's very difficult for the tour operators because they're very black and white. From a tour operator's perspective, if they book you, they have to deliver, and you don't have to have any quarantine. So they don't have an option. And so when I've been with the tour operators, unfortunately they've blocked us and they've cut it off. That said, there is a huge amount of opportunity when flights resume and we're allowed, and there's some clear guidance to book directly and book your flights either with one of the airlines that are flying, and then be able to pick up your accommodation direct. So I suspect there'll be a lot more people who are booking direct rather than booking through tour operators.
I always book direct. I think, and for a couple of reasons. For me, when I was as I was due to go on the 7th of January, and I was booked into Samakov, and I've never stayed anywhere other than the Flora Apartments. Every time I've been, like this has been my 6th time, always the Flora Apartments. When you get so used to something that when you change it, it's like, well, I have ADHD anyway, so that changing the routine and doing something different for me is a little bit, you know, especially when it comes to accommodation and things that keep you quite secure. So I was really scared about that. But now back in March, we're booked into the same apartment that we always go to. And I think more for me was Steve, because I actually, when we were going for the short break in March earlier this year, I'd managed to get into the Reeler on a really good price with Jason, and that went Pete Tong, but I couldn't get back in for January.
So can you just say which, you know, you've just said it, Mo, yourself. Steve, what's that hotel that you normally stay at?
I knew this was coming. Well, for me, it's always been the Rilla, but it seems like I'm outnumbered.
I think you're outnumbered by, it's 1 against about 20,000 really on that one.
It's only because he lives in accent neutral territory in the UK.
What? Norfolk? All right, boy, you got a tractor?
Yeah, but you haven't got an accent.
No, I haven't. No.
You had booked in the trips you're booking in already. Steve, where have you booked in to stay?
However you'd like me to pronounce it. The Rilla.
He's at the Reeler, isn't he?
We always stay at the Rilla, but the Rilla at the moment, to be fair, are fantastic. We always book, like Mo, we book directly. We book our flights direct, and we book the hotel direct. And the hotel at the moment, as is the Samakov at the moment, they've got a great cancellation policy. They're all aware of the world and how it is at the moment. And obviously, I had to cancel the January one and the Boxing Day one. And as long as it's within 7 days at the moment, you can cancel it free of charge. You can move it. They're all very accommodating as they have to be, don't they, at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, last year, as I think you know, Mo, I stayed at the Sangria and have planned and was planning to stay there this year. I'm fingers crossed we'll be getting out there sometime. I think it's like nothing is a guarantee in this at the moment. Nothing we can guarantee.
Well, I'm just going to keep your fingers crossed for March. I think.
Keep my fingers crossed, and B, I'm keeping my fingers crossed for all the people who are out there working at these hotels or running these hotels, running the restaurants, running the businesses. You know, for those that aren't aware, Steve, you know, you're in the leisure industry. How has that affected you? How did it end up being this year?
Well, it's been a game of two halves for us. We were obviously, I own a boat hire company on the Norfolk Broads, so we have day boats on the Norfolk Broads. So painful for the start of the season because Easter was the most glorious, sunny, beautiful Easter we've had in decades. And this was still under the first lockdown, the serious lockdown, if you like, where everything had to be properly closed. So we were closed for that. And obviously Wroxham, the town where my yard is, was like a ghost town, which would normally be packed. And we weren't allowed to open until I think it was 15th or thereabouts of June. So we missed all of Easter, all of April, May, and most of June. But pretty much from the moment we opened up, due to staycations and various other things, it was a very busy summer. So we were busy. Wroxham was busy. And I think the Norfolk Broads as a whole did well as a knock-on of the staycation habit that sort of happened over the summer. So on the whole, it was a good summer.
Oh, that's refreshing. That's really good to know.
Yeah, it is. I think these things all equal themselves out, and that as you say, if you look at the macro of it, the long term, the bigger picture, you know, these things will all balance themselves out. But that's hard to say at this time. It really is. And you know, I'm just hopeful. I mean, some of the reports we've had back from people who are out there is that some of the restaurants have changed their layouts. Some of the places have changed their layouts so that they're actually putting more and more tables outside. They've got everything planned. They've got everything ready. They've got some things going, which will be great. And, you know, and fingers crossed, we'll get out there. I know that there's a number of people that we know on this who normally are tuning in, other regulars who actually live out in Borovets, some of which were based in the UK and were due for their flights back and just couldn't get back home. You know, we always think about it the other way around, but they're trying to get back home to Bulgaria. So let's just hope that it will sort it out. There's a couple of comments here that obviously aimed at you, Steve. You know, about the fact that you're from there, and I don't even know if I'm going to ask this question, but I think actually that are we right about that? I think I know what the answer to.
I've just seen the question.
I unfortunately didn't hear you because you were glitching.
The question is, Steve, are you related to Roy?
I wish I was. I wish I was.
I think everybody's related to Roy in Norfolk somewhere along the line, isn't they?
Roy owns the monopoly of Wroxham, doesn't he?
And do you know, that is wonderful to step into this. I've spent loads of time in Wroxham, and it's wonderful to step into that and see a local business monopolising it, as opposed to it being Tesco's or that to me is old school, beautiful, and I love it, and it's just so endearing, isn't it?
Little history of Roy's. Do you want a little history just so you know what Roy's is?
Potted one.
So Roy's is like the supermarket, the department store, the toy shop, the shoe shop. Everything is Roy's this, Roy's that, Roy's the other. Ironically, the only thing there isn't is a Roy's boat hire, but that might come. And Roy's was founded 125 years ago this year. I think it's 125th anniversary. And I'm sure someone will correct me. I think it was Ernest Roy and Albert Roy, possibly, I think, were the two Roy brothers. I think they were. I may have that slightly wrong, but everyone says, who is Roy? Whenever they come to my boat hire, who's Roy? Who's Roy? And actually that was their surname. Their surname was Roy.
So just remind everybody, please put in your comments, chat, any questions you have, rude comments you can keep yourself, but anything else, please put it in there, and tell us where you're watching from, when you're going out, or when you're planning to go out, and if you've rearranged when you're planning to go out. Anything will be great.
I just noticed something really bad. I don't know whether you can see behind me. I didn't realise. Can you see behind me?
What, the picture?
We can see the Christmas
but
tree.
Can you see what it is?
It's a Bansco. It's
It's not Roy's.
So, it's just so that we could see. Everybody can see that. There you go. Great.
I just realised it's Bansco. I'm really sorry. On an impartial Borovets.
It's all right.
It's not Roy's of Bansco, is it?
But you can't see. But over that side of the living room, there is a Borovets picture as well.
So I'll tell you what, though, Steve. I'll tell you what was really interesting when you came on with the Christmas tree going there. It looks like Good Morning TV, doesn't he? I'll keep waiting for Piers to walk out.
Holly Willoughby is just over there.
Great.
Can you, Holly? No, Holly Willoughby won't come out. She's camera shy.
No, his picture's great. It's just his sound is awful today.
Well, so. Actually, to put it in more of an age context, let's call it Pebble Mill, shall we?
I can't hear you. You're glitching again. You're glitching, and I'm
he's just saying let's call it Pebble Mill at 1. I think is what you didn't say at 1, but I added it. I do remember when they launched the mini metro on that one time. That was so long ago. Another quick question people normally ask, and I know this is people aren't going out at the moment, but I thought we would just bring it up just so that people can remind themselves where. So people always ask about exchange rates and what's the situation on exchange rates. It normally comes up as a bigger question once people are starting to go out there, but I'll just quickly show where we are. So there's a great website which is the Crown Exchange, and you can actually choose your office. At the moment, the nearest that we've got is the Samakov one, which is at the rate there is 214. They actually haven't opened the Borovets office yet, so there is no rate against Borovets, but the Samakov one is there. When that all comes online, we'll explain which is the place to get that rate from, because there are some different exchange rates displayed as you walk down the main strip, but that is a key thing. So Steve, normally again about this time of year you've normally gone and splashed out on a load of new equipment.
You know me well.
Those of us who watch the Ski Shack for the toys you wish you could afford to buy but realize are too expensive, nobody would buy them. Of one of which was your I
And
can
a
only
skier's edge.
describe as a torture training cross device. What on earth was it, Steve?
Oh, so that is incredible. It's called a skier's edge.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
If you've not seen it, have a look at it. Go to YouTube, and Ski Shack Reviews is my YouTube channel, and it's just for a bit of fun. I do some reviews on ski products. Basically, it's like an arch-shaped ski simulator. So you stand with your feet parallel, and it simulates fast carved turns. So you literally slide yourself from side to side to side to side, and it's really good for your core, for your stomach, for your back, your thighs. So it's good for your fitness. If you can't run, I can't run because I've got a bad back. I can't cope with the up and down sort of motion of running, but it's very good for your fitness before you go out skiing. It's a brilliant bit of kit and very good if you're an advanced skier looking to do lots of carved turns. Brilliant for homing your technique. It's good.
Cool.
And for me as a snowboarder, it exactly explains why I like sitting on my arse watching you rock.
No benefit to you whatsoever as a snowboarder, or to anyone who's like snow plowing or
the two exercises you have to learn to snowboard once you get proficient is how to sit on your backside professionally and how to make sure that your arm works well. That's
and how to cut up
skill
skiers.
sets that you.
Yeah.
We don't have a problem with that. You can wipe them out. It's like going bowling, 10-pin bowling. Just take out the skiers on the way down.
I've just picked up a balance board. Have you seen those? So it's like a wooden board, and it sits on like a round tube, and you stand on it for your core. That's quite difficult, but fun. Spend a couple of hours in front of the telly on that.
Blimey.
Lying on it or actually balancing on it, Mo?
Actually on it.
Okay. Yeah. And this is for to strengthen your core.
Yeah. Oh, mate, you feel it in your legs and your stomach and everything. Yeah, it's
you've got quite a lot of core to strengthen, haven't you?
Hello.
Probably significantly cheaper as well than a skier's edge machine, I would imagine.
I did listen to the prices and I was thinking, hold on, that's like 3 holidays worth.
Yeah, they do a snowboard version.
Well, I got mine second hand. Mine second hand was 1,700, I think it was, or 1,650.
It's almost as much as my electric skateboard.
So we normally ask this. We normally ask this, Steve, of our guests, and I think you've covered it before, but it's a new season. Where in Borovets is your favourite runs? What are your favourite runs?
Easy. Yastrobets all day long. I love the Yastrobets. I could do that, and the one down the centre, the Pamparovo. I love those. I'm at the age now, Leo. I'm 45, so I'm not old by any means, but my back is, for want of a better phrase, it's knackered. So I'm at the age where I don't need to be tearing down and going off piste and stuff like that. So I'm quite happy just homing technique down the Yastrobets with Victoria and just love it. My days of tearing down the blacks head first they're not totally gone, but most of the time they're gone.
I think it's quite interesting. A lot of people, when they go out there, they don't necessarily visit Yastrobets as their first runs. I know that, particularly I think for skiers, because I think when you go on Yastrobets and you get to the top of the lift and you come down, and if you can see it, it's there on my screen in the middle there, Yastrobets. Hopefully you can work out where it is. It does look quite daunting when you get off the top of that, because you come over and the very first part is quite steep. And there are about 3, if I remember, 2 or 3 sections which are quite steep on the way down. But I would agree with you. It is, although marked as red, is one of the best runs to go and get used and go on.
I actually quite only recently discovered what was really nice is if you go down Yastrobets 1, so as you get off the lift, it's the one on the right as you look at the slope. Yeah. Follow it all the way down, and you can if you're staying at the Rila or the Rilla like we do, you can cut through onto the Masala pathway, and then you can come off the Masala pathway, and it takes you out to the Yankiev area. It takes you right to the door. Brilliant. I love it.
I will try, and if you can look at that, maybe if I can zoom in slightly, hopefully you can see it. So what you're talking about is the dotted path in the middle there. That goes underneath. Hopefully people can see it. There's a dot. No, not the dotted path. Sorry, my mistake, because that's the minibus. It's the beige brownish path that runs just under where the word 6 is. Hopefully you can see that. and it's there. You can go. It takes you right into to as you say, crosses the two areas at the bottom. Yeah, it's amazing, especially if you use some of those paths that you find they're very underused. I find them very underused because I think people stick to the main areas and don't realise there are quite a few paths around there.
We've got photos, Lee, in our kitchen on the wall actually of the Yastrebets last half term, last February, and in the background there's just no one in the background. It was so quiet that we had pretty much had the slopes to ourselves. It was incredible. So
I think it's going to be a strange year. We don't know when we're going to get out there. As Mo mentioned earlier, we're hopeful that the three of us could actually be out there about the same time.
That'd be cool.
It will be nice. I'd like to wish lots of Christmas, whatever differences. It's like your Christmas cheer. It feels strange saying it this year, doesn't it? You know, I've been saying to a lot of people, I wish you a different Christmas. I don't know what I mean, but I can't think of the right words. But particularly to my friends and the people out there running the places in the resort. You know, for those restaurant owners, for the people running the ski hire places, etc., the hoteliers, and everybody that I've missed off that list. Just, you know, I hope to see you really, really soon.
Yeah, and from me, Christmas, everybody at Christmas back here in the UK or anywhere else around the world, I think I just want to say it's only one, and just think how much more we'll appreciate next year. So it's kind of like just repointing your building. You know, it's going to be a bit pants. Next year we'll really appreciate it more, and maybe be thankful for what we have got rather than running through our life. Not all of us, but you know, plenty of us running through our life, taking things for granted that, you know, now we can't, and yeah, it should make the next ones a little bit better.
I think so. Steve?
There's not a lot you can add to that. I echo both those sentiments. Yeah, there's far more important things than skiing, aren't there, in the world? Having your family and loved ones around you are more important. So
yeah, I'd finally like to thank the people that run. There are 3 different Facebook groups out there. There's that run slightly differently. I'd like to thank all the people that run those groups that have kept everybody in touch, particularly in these times. Kept everybody informed when they hear things. Kept the number of rumor mills to the minimum, and the same with the guys at my Borovets, or and that's it. You know, they've also been great at trying to keep the information when they know it flowing, and that is really tough when you wish to tell people and you just don't know what you're going to say. But thank you again to all of those. And last thing
wants to say hello.
One of our guests. Oh, look at that! That's it. We've probably trebled the number of people watching. The minute you bring on a dog, that's it. You treble the number of people.
Hang on there. Oh, there's another one.
Oh, there you go. So I'd like to say goodbye to everybody, and hopefully we'll see you all sometime on a board, sometime on some skis, sometime in Borovets. Good night.
Happy Christmas.
Good night, everyone, and Merry Christmas. Oh.